Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Brave Healing Podcast, where the mission is to change the world one brave word at a time. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Oh, there's a kitty cat behind you, Rhonda. Oh, my goodness. I love when animals show up to our shows, you guys. It's a really good vibe energy. Thanks for being here and listening in. I'm Laura DeFranco, your hostess, and man, do I have some extra special healing badassery in store for you in this episode. I have with me Rhonda Livingston. Hey, Rhonda.
Hey.
I have Stacy Seekman. Hey, Stacy. And I have Diana Leader with me. Hello, Diana.
Hey, hello.
And what these three amazing humans have in common, aside from some other things, I'm sure, is that they are all co-authors of The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing, Volume 2. You guys, this book series now was born with a mission to help people heal at home. When that first book came out in May, it was right in the middle of COVID. The idea was to begin to build a community where we could help empower people to connect to their inner healer. And proud to say that first book became a #1 international Amazon bestseller in the chronic pain category. And I'm very proud, something like that, to announce that we're about to get Volume 2 into the world. So let me introduce you to some of my awesome co-authors. Stacy Seekman is a certified life and intentional, sorry, I was going to say international, but that might have worked as well, an intentional movement coach and the owner of Balanced Body Reflections. She is extremely passionate about empowering and encouraging women to move with strength, courage, and confidence through their middle-aged years. I've got Diana Leader, certified co-active life and confidence coach. She helps women who have had an emotional hit become stronger by learning to align themselves with their own needs and desires. She's a healer of broken spirits, teacher of self-reliance, and partner in getting your voice and life back. And Miss Rhonda Livingston pulls from her physical and massage therapy, Pilates, and martial arts backgrounds to help her clients, I'm pausing, okay, to help her clients and patients assess their full lives and build strong practices for functional mobility and building a strong tribe around them. After surviving a childhood of abuse, she's made it a mission to help others find their strength and make healthy choices about their full environment. Ladies, welcome.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a lot of bio. I joke about that because y'all are so amazing. And, listeners, for these amazing group podcasts, I'm like asking all the authors for like a 2-word bio so that I don't spill on my words, all of these sentences. But just know that there's a lot more to learn and understand about these experts, and I've got you linked up in the show notes with all of their websites and everything, so you'll be able to explore after the show. So, Miss Rhonda, would you tell us about the chapter that you wrote?
Although my primary source of income right now is through movement, what got me there was my first big step. So my chapter is about building a really strong tribe and choosing who you allow close in your life. I learned early on through, as an early adult, that the relationship that I had with my family was very toxic and it was never going to improve. So I made some really hard decisions to kind of cut ties and be really picky about who I let close to me. And that first big decision was kind of what led me on this amazing path of just being able to help people just blossom and grow. And coming out of a childhood riddled with abuse, rather than being a survivor, I'm a thriver.
We like thrivers. I love that. So, any one of us, any one of the 25 authors in this book could have written about, I don't know, probably as many different tools that they've used in their career to help their clients. And being a fellow, physical therapy person, also fellow martial artist, and you and I have a lot in common. I love that you decided to tackle this piece for people and help them understand that the people that they surround themselves with really matter. So when you figured that out and you started to kind of change your game and shift things a little bit, tell us about that part of your journey.
Well, the first and most important decision was to basically cut ties with my family. I have associations with basically 2 members of my family, and the rest of them I just stopped talking to. And I made that decision initially more for my children than I did myself. And then I realized how much benefit I got out of it by putting them as the focus of, okay, how, what tribe do I want? What village do I want raising my children? And yeah, that was the first really big piece. That decision gave me the courage to know that I could stand on my own. I could tackle all kinds of things on my own. I subsequently survived a 20-year failed marriage. That decision gave me the confidence to be able to say, okay, I no longer wish to be part of this marriage that's not healthy. So like lots of little pebbles being kicked.
Yeah, and it's easy. I'm sure it's easy after the fact when you've moved through some of the healing journey, and reached the other side of these things. I remember way back when being with, it was an acupuncturist type of healer, amazing woman. And she said this one line to me in one of our sessions, and that was something about the fact that just because people are family, are blood relatives, and it doesn't mean you still don't have a choice when it comes to relating with them and being with them even. And up until that point, I really had a belief that because they were called family, because they had that label, I had an obligation, no matter how it made me feel. And that's like jail.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much like jail. That's a really good explanation for it. But you have 100% choice of who you allow to take part in your life, especially to take an active role in your life and to influence your decisions, your moods. If being in someone's company, whether that's family, friends, coworkers, whatever the case is, if being in their presence is a drain on your life and it brings you down, and you anticipate a meeting with them with anxiety and frustration and fear or whatever the case is, you have a right to cut the sale of that ticket. This is my show. And I have control over who I sell my tickets to. So I'm going to put a premium on those. And if you're not paying the price for the ticket, which is kindness and respect and loyalty and love and just being a good person, you're not going to get a ticket to my show.
Yeah, and sometimes even just the openness and willingness to have better communication. Sometimes the most difficult relationships, that's all I really wanted, was someone to meet me halfway, because it takes two, but when I realized that wasn't going to happen, then I had to make hard decisions. And that's why I talk about all y'all being warriors, because each one of you has been on this path that really is not for the faint of heart. We make hard decisions, and we prioritizing ourselves and our health and our wellness and our joy sounds sometimes easy, but it is not easy, especially when you grew up being taught how to act and taught how to be and all of that. Thank you for writing about that topic and for being here today.
Thank you for giving me the platform.
Stacy, will you talk to us about your chapter?
I would love to. So I wrote a chapter on foam rolling. It's a tool that some people know in the physical therapy. They've had experience with that. And the reason why I wrote that is because it was truly an opportunity and a tangible instrument for me to be able to understand internal connection and balance within me versus connecting to everything that's going on in the outside world. To have the opportunity to have a tool that's just a small investment with just an amazing, powerful return that I can access any time of the day that I need to. It truly, foam rolling is unique. I have designed just an entire movement program, intentional movement program around that, to really and truly, there's that moment where you know that you've connected to your own energy, power, and strength. And in that moment, when you have a class full of women on the foam roll and one of them connects to their own power and rhythm and sound, it sends a contagious energy through the entire room. And so the whole premise of the chapter is to really truly introduce a concept that is available to anyone at any time. It's an opportunity. It's taken my love for massage and being a massage therapist for many, many years, to being an athlete, to just loving movement and connection. And so I brought all those pieces together in the foam rolling chapter with two very basic exercises to give people that understanding that you're on a moving foam roll. It's not stable. And so if you're not grounded and connected, when you start moving your arms and doing your legs and everything, then you're going to fall off. And so I think we have a tendency on the outside to have events on the outside really, really impact the way we live on the inside, and they shouldn't. And so it gives people a chance to understand how to move from the inside out.
I love that you're taking well, I love the integration is what I love. And so I'm going to stay with you for a moment and kind of segue into this next question. I usually wait, but I'm not going to wait today for some reason. I'm having a moment. But, you know, the integration is about why we're all talking about like holistic healing. And so when you think about this, and when you think about you using that tool with the body, but for the internal kind of results, right? We know that they're intertwined and it's important that we integrate, but why in your world, why holistic? Why not just regular old healing?
Well, I think that we're physical beings, but we have an emotional, nutritional, spiritual, mental, we have all of that. And we have to be able to provide an opportunity for those to all come together in some way or form through the tools that we use. And so one of the things that was significant for me to change was being an athlete. I knew what it meant to perform on the outside, working out. I understood what that meant mentally and physically and emotionally too, but there's a whole part on the inside that people don't see. And that's truly where the connection needs to be. And so that was the way for me to understand physical, mental, I understand that concept, but working in to live out, working in to work out was what I was trying to accomplish. And so that was really significant for me as a whole sense of being.
I love that. Can you think of just what comes to your mind very first when I say what's been the biggest benefit of living that way?
Bringing being back in the center of all of my doing. Have Stacy show up to all the roles and the hats that I have instead of them being my identity. Stacy is my identity. And so I think that that's really important moving forward, is that for me, my foundation is in Christ. And so being Stacy in the image of him, I can move forward and move in that way. Stacy needs to show up. Her heart needs to show up. And then all of my roles, when I put my mom hat on, if Stacy's empty when she puts her hat on, it's going to show in her interaction with her kids. If I put my wife hat on and I'm running on empty and I haven't taken the time to connect to being Stacy, then our relationship will suffer. And so I think that Stacy and our own individual person will suffer if we do not take the time to connect to our very being inside.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That's when I think of holistic and the benefits of holistic healing and just being on this journey, you know, because it's not easy all the time. A lot of the times it's way opposite of easy, right? So why are we doing this? But that's why. that, so that we can be in that place of overflow energy and serve from that overflow to, and we are all so many roles, right? As women, as moms, daughters, wives, you name it. So yeah, thank you. And thanks for sharing, being here to share your chapter and your ideas today.
Thank you.
Diana, tell us about your chapter.
Okay. First, I want to say I'm blown away by the two women that just went ahead of me, and their chapters are they sound like they're amazing, you guys. And they also fit in really well to mine. I resonated with lots of things that you said, both of you said, about what's inside and what needs to come out. So my chapter is about freeing your voice, and doing that by looking inside to see what's there. I think we end up often, as women particularly, we end up having emotional hits that either knock us off our game, or we're not taught to look inside and to reflect what we need and what we want in a very honest, productive way, for us and for the people around us. So, and that was my story. I had a wonderful upbringing. Some would say I was spoiled rotten, but I was not taught to look after myself and express myself. And I didn't need to. I lived in a big house with lots of people, so I really didn't need to. The baby of the family is what I was referred to most of the time. So, so this chapter is really important to me. And it's also, that experience is also reflected in a lot of the women that I see, who stop using their voice because of either the emotional hits or again, not learning how to do it to begin with, not learning who they were. So this is really about know yourself to be yourself. So, and in that way, it's a process that will help us heal, because we then have a platform from which to express what we need to express. So we can say, we can say no, we can say, I don't want to, or yes to things that, that we know are really important to us once we understand what those things are. So my tool is really about how to get there, how to process for taking a look at what's inside and connecting with what I call your inner goddess, who is the one who knows all and sees all, to know what it is that you need to express. So it's that inside, using that to manage our outside, as opposed to looking outside for validation, looking outside for our value. We can look inside at that first and use that as the platform then to speak it, to voice it, to manage what we have outside.
Voice is important in my world, and it's part of my story as well. I appreciate your chapter very much. And it's making me sit here and think about, we've written a book with lots of different kinds of self-healing tools that the reader can be taught and learn and do. And many of them are mental, emotional, they happen as a beginning up here in their minds with how they're moving through the world and thinking about it or observing the moment. And of course, I think of the sub, of course I'm privy to that. I've read all your chapters already and I have an understanding, and the readers are just going to have to wait for the details. But that thing about voice inside me, I had to connect it into my body. And I wrote a chapter for our volume that has to do with that body awareness, being grounded in a place inside of you to notice what you feel, what you're sensing. And in my world, when the voice was shoved down, quieted, when it felt small, that had such a physical feeling for me, but it wasn't until I actually connected with how it felt that I knew I had to change it. I wish for people that they feel much, much sooner, that they feel, I had a mentor who likened it to the stoplight, red, yellow, or green. And the red light is pain. You're having pain already. It's like, the big voice screaming at you, you better do something about this. But wouldn't it be cool if we could feel at a yellow light level so that we could do something about it before it became this big thing? So I guess the question I wanted to ask you about that is, how is it for you in terms of integrating to your body with that topic? Just out of curiosity.
I think that one of the things that you learn through this kind of process is to recognize what you're feeling. So, and in very, very simple terms, when you're thinking about what your truth is inside, it's, what works and what doesn't work. You automatically get a physical response when something isn't working. That's very different than when it does work. I can remember thinking, years ago, how interesting it was that women would feel their stress and their anxiety and their hurt and pain, either here, in their chest, they have difficulty breathing, in their stomach, they do the butterfly thing or worse, or the most common was bowel issues. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So once you recognize what the things are that are not working for you, across the board, either it's through, values exploration or just sitting and thinking about, okay, how did I feel? Then those things are easier to pull together. And yeah, recognizing how that feels is a big part of it.
You just said values exploration. That's interesting and really important, right? I don't think I ever had somebody talk to me about values until much later in my life. It certainly wasn't something taught by parents or even beginning teachers. It's just interesting when some of these topics come along in life. Thank you for writing about voice. I think part of the book mission is to give you all a voice. And so, I have two big missions with this book, is to provide people with lots of different kinds of tools, because there are so many different kinds of people and there are so many different kinds of ways to heal. And I feel like we give so much hope when we offer all of these different ideas. But the other big, big mission is, I feel like, man, it is about time that the healers of the world had a bigger voice. So I appreciate you writing about that topic.
Thank you.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think us, having a platform to express ourselves, that's coming from inside of us. Our need to speak, our need to be heard, our need to heal, to support people around us. So it all fits really well. So thanks.
Oh yeah, of course. You're welcome. Okay, so I asked Stacy a little bit about why holistic, but I'm gonna skip over to Rhonda again for that same question. You do a lot of different things in this realm, and there's two ways we can think about this, ladies, and you can answer it from either direction. But there's the idea of why holistic healing, why do it holistically, and what does that even mean? But also there was a really interesting question that came up the other day in a post, and it was like, how do you even know there's healing to be done? Like, I feel like a lot of the times we're here to sort of wake people up to the idea that there's healing to be done, and that it's okay to not be settling for mediocre in terms of your life in all areas, mind, body, and soul. Because I think some of us walk around like zombies sometimes, and we just settle for this very mediocre level when there is so much more to be felt and had and experienced in life, right? Oh my God, don't get me started on this topic. I love this topic. But Rhonda, Talk to me about that. How do you even know that there's healing to be done?
So I saw that post and I never got around to being able to write anything down on it because the brain started going.
I know, right? Like,
so
yeah.
in a PT world, people come to you and they're like, "Oh, my knee hurts, fix my knee," but that's a really direct thing, and it's really something concrete that you can put your hands on, literally and figuratively. But how do we know that there's healing to be done on the inside is, for me, it comes up in different ways. I'm a really light person as far as I like to joke, I like to play, I like for life to just be fun. And when I feel like there's this weight on me that I can't be this big, joking, laughing, happy person and just go through life with light, again, two different terms there for light, visual light as well as the lightness of just being able to move through your life. If you're heavy, I think that's the first indication. If you feel like there's a wet blanket on you, then you definitely have some healing to do. If you can't connect with another human being or just look at a flower and just have joy for something so simple, those simple little things in life, then there's definitely some healing to be done. And that's not to say, I think everybody needs to heal. Everybody has something. If you grew up with a phenomenal childhood and you had lots of support around you, you're still going to have hurts that need to be healed, and they're going to be there, whether it's something that you did and you felt like you failed at, or whatever, you didn't get this opportunity, or it was a relationship that didn't quite go the way you wanted it to, or whatever the case is. We're going to have healing to do. That is the existence of a human being, is we're going to have those stumbles, those stubbed toes, whatever the case is. So it might be a little thing to heal, or it might be a really big thing to heal. If you can't go through your life being able to have that deep appreciation for the simplest things, then I think that's an indication that you've got something kind of happening there. And then to kind of play on that holistic part, I equate it to, you can't eat a healthy meal once and think that your body's healthy. You can't go to the gym once and think that you're going to be, strong. It has to tie in. If you're not sleeping, it doesn't matter how good your diet is. If you're not eating well, it doesn't matter how hard you work out. It has to all come together as a bunch of puzzle pieces to make a whole.
Yeah, I love the way that you're talking about that. Oh man, you said something that reminded me of us as writers too. This is a little off this topic, but people have all kinds of levels of story and things that have happened to them, right? From small to medium to big. And you're right, there's small things to heal, there's big things to heal. It just depends on who you are and what kind of life you've lived. And I know this is a little bit off topic, but I've never seen something paralyze a writer more than thinking their story isn't bad enough. And so like, why should I write this chapter and teach you all when I really haven't been through this big, horrible thing over here? And so I just want to say, for anyone listening who's like ready to express and share, and they know that they've got a gift to share with the world, that's enough right there. That is enough. It doesn't have to be big or medium or whatever. Just, it's important because it's important, so thank you for making me think of that. Diana, coming back down to you about that, how do you even know there's healing to be done?
Well, it comes back to that inside and what we're not paying attention to. So in my practice, it's about, women that are knee deep in drama.
The drama. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah, because you're looking outside for value and validation, right? So yeah, you're knee deep in drama. You're, he said, she said, and then this person did this to me. And all that feels like shit. But there are other ways that those things can be managed so that, the end experience of that for you feels better than the drama or the blaming or whatever. So, women that can't move out of a job that they completely hate. They feel really stuck. Not being able to make decisions is a big one. Not being able to engage in self-care or any kind of nourishment for themselves that will help them thrive. So they're really the big ones that when you're relying on the outside instead of your inside, then you're engaging in things that support that as opposed to support what's inside.
Those are really all good. Also, it's not like the things aren't going to happen, the dramatic things, but it's how we're responding in the moment to that thing that is happening in life, right? So maybe, talk for a minute about the difference between who you are in those moments. How do you avoid drama?
So when you're engaged in drama, again, you're looking at what's happening outside. So the one way that you can avoid that, or not avoid the actual drama, but pull yourself out of it and not react to it, you can look inside to see what it is you really need in that circumstance. And maybe, as Rhonda talked about, maybe it's leaving people out of your life. That's really hard. Obviously, we've heard that, and it certainly is hard, from my experience as well. But it's a choice that we can make to lessen the experience of the drama that's happening. You may choose to keep people in your life that may not be, offering you everything that you want them to offer you. So there's some acceptance work, right? Sometimes there are people that we know are going to behave in a certain way, and we accept them for what they are. We don't have to engage. We don't have to be part of the game. We don't have to do the back and forth. But we have accepted the fact that they're part of the family, I'll say. That's usually what that comes up. Uncle Al, who's, just really hurtful and asks really, really, gut-wrenching questions every time you see him at Christmas. So you avoid him. Okay, that's him. That's fine. I'm not ready to say you're out of my life. But maybe one day you will be. So it's taking a look at what's important to you. And standing up for that and speaking up for that.
Yeah, love it. Thank you.
Right. It doesn't have to be confrontational either. I mean,
true.
And I go to the extreme with my example of like cutting my parents out, but you have like the way I envision it is like circles around you, and you can choose at what stage in your circle that people can play. So that person at work who's causing you drama, if you love your job and you have to interact with that person, you can choose to interact with them from a distance versus getting caught up in that drama and letting it consume you.
Yeah, it's absolutely about the awareness, which gives you the choice. And we're all talking about awareness. And one other thing that's happening in these books, it's lovely to watch the themes roll through the chapters. And we're all talking about awareness, and at least in one form or another, right? We are all a lot of the time talking about connecting with the breath. That's another theme that I see through all of the chapters. And it's just interesting to watch that. Intuition is another beautiful theme that runs through all of the chapters. And so I hope that the readers get an idea of these core foundational pieces that make everything else possible. What you guys are talking about for sure, like responding in a relationship of any kind versus reacting in it. Stacey, I'm going to ask you, how do you even know that there's healing to be done?
Powerful question. So, I'm a believer that healing energy always reflects truth. And so truth is scary for people. And so I think if they're not willing to feel things, you've got to reach out, like you said, the yellow light, green light, red light. I think when you hit that, we can start allowing people to know that there's an internal education that needs to take place, and be willing to be okay with feeling that and sitting in it. I think for many people, I think healing is seen as something's wrong, when healing to me is growth, whether it be, I believe that there's healing in positive things too. I know that sounds kind of strange, but
Nope.
I think you have to lift. Healing happens in both ways. And if you say the word healing and truth, people think, oh, well, there's something wrong with me. And it's like, no, there's not. Let's look at how can we pull from you these gifts? How can we pull from you your experiences to share? Healing is a process. Healing is about living. And people think healing is about dying, and it's not. You find strength and energy and power in those moments that are either positive or negative. We just use the positive ones without thinking about it. Mm-hmm. We celebrate joy, and that is a form of healing, to use that energy. And so I feel like the people that are facing these difficulties on the outside, they just need to understand that healing is something that's always going to take place. You could feel like, I mean, my mom died 16 years ago. I'm never going to fully heal from that, because there's different things in my life and different things that I don't even know we're going to come forward in the future that's going to bring me back and open up another wound that I never knew I had regarding the loss of my mom. So that's an opportunity for growth again. Mm-hmm. And so it goes back to that concept about bringing being back into the center of all doing. That is the process of healing. And how do you do that? Mm-hmm. You've got to learn how to use that energy and pull it and channel that energy into something positive. Use it.
Definitely. I love it. You guys are all these interviews are the best, because I think it was one of the other interviews I was just saying that not all of our readers get to have these kinds of conversations. And that's why having somebody that you can talk to like this about bigger things, about things that really matter, about game-changing topics and things maybe you've been curious about but haven't really had the courage to talk about to your normal circles because you're really not sure how they're going to react to you or this or that. So I appreciate all of you, being able to talk about these big subjects. And I know our listeners are happy to hear it too. I thought of one other thing that has left me now on that topic, but it was just, the biggest joy moments of my life have been the best healing. And the worst moments of my life have been the best healing. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I think that when you stop judging it all, that when you just stop labeling it as good or bad and just allow yourself to have the energy of it and be there and just watch it and feel it and see and be curious. I love the curiosity thing, it makes a difference. You guys all have certain big things that have been on your journey that may have even been a little thing at the moment, just like a nugget. And what I want you to do for the listeners at this point is just talk about one of those things that you really want them to know about this journey. So Rhonda, going back to you again. What's one thing? I know it's
only one.
We have
only
like
one.
100 things. I know we have 100 things, you guys. We all have like 100 things. What's been one really important thing that if you keep coming back to it, it just seems to be foundational for you?
Oh, okay. So I would say, honestly, self-reliance. And it's not to say you can't rely on other people, but you're the driver of this bus. And if you are not happy in your bus, change direction. Like, you have total control over that. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to make a 90-degree turn with no turn signals and not braking, but you're the driver. You're not a victim of anybody else. And, maybe people do things to you or around you or whatever that negatively impacts you, but you have a choice on choosing to be happy and choosing to move towards happiness. That has been the driver of so many of my decisions that have propelled me so far. I had a very successful 10-year banking and career in banking. I hated it. It doesn't matter if I'm making good money at it. I hated it. So I changed. I did a 180 and went in a totally different direction, and went back to massage school while raising a family. And then from there, it was like, okay, that's not enough. Like, I want more out of life. I want more. I was in control of that. I was the driver of that bus. I didn't have to ask anybody permission. One baby step at a time. Just take control. You are in charge.
I love it. I love that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Diana, how about you? What's one thing you want the listeners to know about this healing journey?
Well, I love Rhonda's analogy of the bus. I think that's bang on. My one message would be to recognize that, yeah, you have that power. You have that power inside you to decide how you want to engage with the world in a way that makes you feel good, and that it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be a big blow up. It can be as gentle and as as many baby steps as you need to take. But the power does live in you. So yeah, you're driving your own bus. If I could repeat that, you're driving your own bus. Sometimes you're going to have those sharp turns, and sometimes, yeah, you're not going to put on your signal. And if that's where you're at right then go for it. Allow yourself the freedom to be self-reliant and trust what you know about yourself, and to continually learn more about what that is. So I guess bottom line is, you are all powerful, because I think when we're engaged in stuff, we don't feel our power. We don't feel our inner power. So taking that back and owning it is something that will see us in good stead for the rest of our lives.
All right, I got to ask you one more question about that, because what if I don't know what that means, taking my power back? I hear this so much, you guys. Like, I want an example of where that shows up, and maybe you just tell us about a personal example and help us understand like how that can look.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So from my own experience, I was kind of, moving along in my life. Everything seemed to be what it was supposed to be, without giving a lot of thought to or consideration to what was really important to me. Some of what I was engaging in was important. Some of it wasn't as important, but I wasn't allowing myself that opportunity to take a look at it. And it wasn't until I had a big emotional hit that threw my relationships way up in the air and said, that's it. It can't work like this anymore. It feels terrible. And I can't engage in my outer world in this way any longer. So I had to make changes. There was no kind of light that went on for me that said, okay, this is how we do it gently. It was like, no, this is it. It's time to go, right? So that's the power piece, I think, for me, is knowing that we have that in here. We can make those changes, and sometimes it is as a result of being emotionally hit with something, a circumstance, a death. I still reel over losing my own mom, and I just lost my dad recently as well. So yeah, that stuff all has a place in us, but we can take what we know about ourselves and express what that is as a way to really, I think I said this in the beginning, to know ourselves, to be ourselves. So that's our power, is that we can be ourselves if we know ourselves.
Thank
Make
you.
sense?
Yeah, thank you.
you.
So Stacy, tell the listeners something you want them to know about this healing journey.
I think probably the greatest thing that I could share that would give you a picture is that I'm a firm believer in the work that I've done, that every single person has a treasure chest inside of them, a life inside of them, and it's their hearts. And no one has the same rhythm and sound. There's not one person that has the same rhythm and sound. And so what greater gift can you give to the world than learning the life that lives inside of you every day, so that you can share that And that I think is the treasure chest that we all, it just holds this amazing power, strength, and energy and beauty. And people are so afraid to move from here to here. It's the greatest distance and the most powerful journey you'll ever be on. Heart work's the hard work. And unfortunately, I hope it will change, that the people will start to value the internal education to their own worth. And that's their treasure chest. And so I think that's probably the thing that I would hope that I can share to the world, of how valuable they are, that they hold this amazing life inside of them. And I'm here to draw it out with all of you, to just say, your worth will never be found on the outside.
Yeah.
Your value, a face value, yeah, that's what you see on the outside. But your true worth will never be found in anything on the outside. And it's taken 50 years to really realize that my worth is right here. And this journey from here to here is the greatest, most powerful expression of everything positive and negative. Every joy, every negative emotion is from here to here. Everything is in there.
I love the visual of the chest. I'm seeing all the sparkly, colorful jewels. I love that. Mine has also been that type of journey. I'll give you guys mine. My nugget is, you were born, so you are worthy. Your message matters. What if the thing you're still a little afraid to share is exactly the thing someone needs to hear to change or even save their life? So that's brave healing to me. That's, what's behind this mission, especially with these books. So for the three of you, did any of you share your story for the first time in this chapter? Will this be a first for any of you?
In writing, yes.
Yeah, in writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me too, in writing.
Okay. So, Rhonda, just give me a quick glimpse into how it felt to do that for you.
Ooh, it was, okay. So you've known me for years. I've written a lot, but I never share it. Like I write for my own healing, for my own, empty out my head kind of a thing. And I very rarely shared anything that I've written. So hitting send on a couple of those emails, I sent it to my brother. I sent it to a couple of really important people in my life to get their feedback on it. And as much as it can only be one chapter, and it's like just a tiny little piece, it was really scary to hit send on some of those emails. And I have a tendency to ask people for feedback, and one of my best friends is like, would you stop asking for the bad? Like, can you look for some good? And I'm like, be brutal. And she's like, okay. At some point, can you take a compliment?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little scary. But at the same time, it's, let's see, I'm 43 now. At 41, I started writing my story. And I got about 8 pages in, and I put that shit away. I buried it down. And I think now I'm at the point where I can feel a little safer sharing the story, and feel like I've healed enough. I still have a long way to go. I'll be healing for the rest of my life. But I feel like it's time. It's time to put it down in writing, and it's time to connect with other people who have had a similar experience and kind of help them, maybe reach a hand back and pull somebody with me.
Nice. Yes. Diana, how about you? How did it feel to tell that story in writing?
I had written parts of it before, because that was really what had me develop the tool itself. I use the tool all the time with my own clients. So being able to express it, I think what it did for me was it allowed me to walk all the way through it. for myself. I'm not
Hmm.
sure that I had done that, you know, I mean, I knew generally why I needed to do what I did and, you know, make the changes that I did. But that was really, that was actually healing for me to do that. Yeah, it was freeing. It was freeing.
Nice, thank you. And Stacy, you had shared before in writing is I think what you were answering there a minute ago, right?
Yeah, I've actually, it's interesting. I've shared my story, but I've never written foam rolling as the tool. I've used, so
Okay,
I'm kind of the reverse.
okay.
Feel like this journey has shifted for me in that sense of sharing the tools that I used. It's one thing to like, Diana, I think I can speak to what you just said is, you know, somebody asked me, and it's so interesting to me when someone asks you, what do you do? And it's, you can't spit it out. You're like, I have no idea.
Do stuff.
There's some days that you're tongue tied and you're like, but what I found profound for me, and it was, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but when you go through the process and you're developing this work within yourself, trying to figure out these tools and things, and then you have to say, hey, this is what I did. That's a whole nother concept of, because while you're doing it, it's not like you're taking notes necessarily. You're just, I don't know. It was just an interesting thing. So I've shared my
Yes.
story, but I've never written foam rolling as my tool.
Well, I will commend all of you and all 25 of us because we all teach it all day long to our clients. We are great teachers. That is easy for us. But then to have somebody challenge you and say, okay, I need you to write it down in a way that a reader who may not be able to, now we've gone ahead and we've created something amazing. So I'll put a plug in for our private Facebook group right now, because purchasers of these books are able to come into a place where they can get some live training from all of you online. And oh my gosh, I think this is the biggest gift that we're doing, aside from giving people these tools that they can learn in their home. But you all need to be commended because it does take skill to write that out. And sometimes I've had authors actually just record their actual teaching sessions and then have those transcribed into words. Because it's so much easier to just teach it, right, than to figure, is this right? How am I supposed to put this in? But another thing about that is when it's out loud, it's real. So in terms of your story, in terms of, expressing that tool in a way that people really get it, all of a sudden you are giving witness to yourself, to your journey. You're making the tool real. There's so many things, right? So I am a lover of writing as a healing process. And of course, we teach what we most need to learn most of the time as well. So I appreciate all of you for the way that you said yes to this and for stepping up to do all of that. And even if you were a little afraid, you did it anyway, Okay, I got one of my favorite questions for you to wrap up the show today. Let's stick with Stacy for a minute. Stacy, what do you love to do so much you lose track of time?
I think learning is one. And then I think, when I'm moving, that's when I lose track of time. Yeah.
Nice.
Whether it be walking or when I'm just being Stacy and I'm out there just moving in my studio or moving on the foam roll, whichever. Movement's huge for me to process everything. And so it's very easy for me to just go and no restriction.
I love it. Thank you. I'm similar. You and I have that in common. We come from a athlete background, and being in my body and peak performing is bliss for me. And it's always been the place where when I'm most in my body, all of my body from my head to my fingertips down to my toes, that's when I'm most connected to the other thing. And so I've learned, I wasn't always like that in being an athlete, but over time in my healing process, I realized that when I was in there in this special way, and I think this is your chapter, that was what got me the big gifts. So you guys all have to wait to read Stacy's chapter. Diana, what do you love to do so much you lose track of time?
Well, I would never describe myself as an athlete, but it is just in body movement that I can lose time for sure. I've had to adjust with some physical health issues, so I'm really looking forward to reading some additional chapters in the book about this. I've had to adjust. I don't run anymore, sadly, but that was it. You know, you just get out and you just keep running and running. And I'm not a, you know, even on my bike, I don't ride fast. I don't, you know, it's not about, you know, how quickly I can get there or how hard I work to get there. It's just the calm and quiet and peace of being in nature and moving my body at the same time, and just feeling like I'm part of what's around me. So that's where I lose the most time. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Nature is one of my big connections as well. Everything about nature. I was walking yesterday and there's a little baby deer that was just eating the grass in one of the, you know, in one of the little yards. And I just stood there for a while just watching, and just being in those moments for me are another one. Rhonda, how about you?
Definitely movement. I can lose myself in teaching just as much as I can.
We got the movement crew here today.
We got the movement crew.
crew.
But definitely nature. You know, art projects I can totally lose myself in, but nature is definitely a place where I can just, I can go hiking for hours and just keep moving and moving and moving, and I don't get tired. Lately, it's fishing.
Ah, nice.
If I'm out on the water, I don't care if I catch anything or not. It doesn't matter. Just being out there.
Just being there. You mentioned art. That's another one for me. I always feel like I need big chunks of time to be in it like that. And so sometimes I don't always give myself the opportunity to be there with all my stuff and my supplies and have a long enough time, you know, to lose myself. But when I do, for sure, I could be there for a very long time. And I'm not sure why, but you're with the nature thing. You're just making me think of walking on a beach and looking for shells or stones. Like, I will wear anyone out who is with me. Like, I will literally do that until it's dark and I can't see the shells anymore. You know, I do not get tired of that. Oh my God, what is that, right? So for you listeners, this is also one of my very favorite writing prompts, you guys. What do you love to do so much you lose track of time? And it's really, really great to give yourself that gift on a regular basis. So ladies, thank you very much for what you do in the world and for being here to share it with us today.
Thank you so much for this project and for all that you do.
Yes, for sure. Thanks for the nudge.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need that little friendly nudge to drive the bus.
My pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. I will be the nudger. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave you with a question. I'll just mention really quickly, please come and explore these amazing authors. This volume 2 is due out in July. And so we're almost there. We're headed into the home stretch with the book. But until then, you're hooked up in the show notes with their websites. Go explore. And when the book is ready, or if you're into volume 1, you can purchase and come into our private group. Get some free trainings, some Q&A opportunity, getting to be with the healers who wrote these amazing chapters and just go the next level with them. And the next step on your journey is really, I think, a huge gift. And I'll leave you with one of my favorite questions of all time. What if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? This book is full of those things, you guys. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.